Good morning, and welcome to Unity of Charlotte. My name is Reverend Lisa Herklotz. I am co-minister here with Reverend Jim, and looking out on our crowd, I can see this is a daylight savings time Sunday. Happens every year. Oh, welcome. Well, if you're here in person, we're really glad you showed up. Thank you so much. And if you're watching us on Zoom, we're happy to have you joining us. I'll probably wait about 20, 30 more minutes and do this again, because that's when everyone's going to realize they're supposed to be at church. I'm kind of wondering why they do daylight savings time change on a Saturday night and a Sunday. Why can't they do that on a Saturday? Like, do it Friday night, so Saturday seems like it would just be a whole lot easier. But, well, there you have it. So, they did not ask me. I don't know why, but I know. I'm going to write a letter to my congressperson. We'd like to begin by speaking aloud our mission statement together. So please join me. Unity of Charlotte is the place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. Yes, indeed. Do we have anyone here for the first time? I can look around and see that is not so, because I recognize every face. If you happen to be joining us on Zoom for the first time, or perhaps, if you're on Zoom now and you would like to get information about Unity, please put your email information in the chat, and our Zoom lead, Alan, will make sure you get a visitor packet. And we're delighted you're joining us. There are many ways to find out what's going on at Unity of Charlotte. We always have things going on. We have a website you can always check. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out. Please sign up for that if you haven't. We have a Facebook presence, Instagram and Bluesky presence in social media. We also have our own YouTube channel where our Sunday services are uploaded. And there's also some short reels that will give you, if you just need a quick hit of inspiration, go check out YouTube and click on one of the reels. They're about 1 minute, 2 minutes long, and they just have a brief inspirational message. And of course, if you're here in person, we always have the bulletin board to check. So I invite you to gently close your eyes or lower your gaze and soften your focus as we take a moment to just let go of all the worldly activities that we've had our thoughts focused on. We simply let them go for a moment, and we sink a little deeper within our heart and our mind together, to that holy place within us where we remember God is our source and we are a divine expression of that source. We remember that God is neither male nor female, but contains the attributes of both, which when they work in harmony, express creatively, strongly, powerfully, intellectually, and with wisdom. So we invite into our awareness both that masculine and feminine presence within, inviting it to join in a sense of harmony and balance, so that we find within us strength and compassion, wisdom and guidance, connection to God and connection to each other. And as we find this within ourselves, so do we see this awakening in the world. A beautiful, balanced, harmonious expression of both masculine and feminine. And oh, the possibilities then for a peaceful, harmonious, and whole expression of our community. In gratitude for knowing these truths, for having the opportunity to live them and express them in our lives, we say thank you, thank you. So it is. While your eyes are still closed, I invite you into a moment of silence where you may speak aloud a name of a person or situation you would now like to uplift in prayer. World leaders, Kimberly, Barbara. We now claim and acknowledge the powerful healing presence of Spirit already active in each one of these people or situations, working in and through to bring about the best and highest good for all. So it is. Now I invite you to join us in speaking aloud our unity prayer of oneness. There is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God, the good omnipotence. Now I'd like to invite, let me talk about our prayer team. We have a prayer team. I know most of you know that, but just a reminder, if you have anything that's weighing on your heart and you would like to share that in prayer with others, we have a prayer team that will take your prayer request in. It will remain in complete confidence. They will pray over it for 30 days, and then they send it to Silent Unity, where it's prayed over for another 30 days. So that's some powerful prayer time. So if there's anything weighing on you, put that out on the prayer request, put it in the box. Or you can go online if you're on Zoom and you want to send us a prayer, go online to our website and there's a prayer form that you can fill out. It's also available through our newsletter. And then, of course, always Silent Unity is available 24/7 to pray with you. The number is 816-969-2000, or you can use an app on your phone if you have it. Now, I would like to invite up Fred to read our daily word.
Today's daily word is the divine feminine. I bless the divine feminine in myself and in others. Today is International Women's Day, a time to celebrate women's achievements across societies and cultures. It is also a time to celebrate the divine feminine, which blesses all people. When I honor the divine feminine, I am recognizing God as love, compassion, and understanding, aspects that are present in everyone. The world is blessed by the contributions of those who embody the divine feminine in their words and actions, from the steeliness of protection to the softness of comfort and nurturance. I give thanks for the girls and women in my life as I lift up and celebrate the divine feminine in its many expressions. I affirm the divine feminine awakens and expands in my heart and blesses and prospers all life. Then there's a scripture. Let me talk to you about the scripture. It's in Proverbs. It's the last chapter and the last verse, the very end of Proverbs. It's a mother explaining to Solomon, King Solomon, things he needs to know about what mothers do. Read it, you would love it. Here's the last verse. Give her a share in the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the city gates. Psalm 31.
So, how many of you know of the technique where you're watching a movie, you're watching the TV, and it starts out black screen, it moves immediately into the end. Right? You've seen that. Somebody gets shot, something happens, a big explosion, whatever it is, you move to the end. And that's what we're going to do here today. We've moved to the end because here it is, we're saying, in a world that constantly pulls at our attention, we are invited back to center. We practice releasing stress and becoming a center of peace. That's that scene at the end that we've brought into the beginning of that as well. Then the screen fades to black. And then you usually get a notice on that screen, don't you? It says, 20 minutes ago. So here we go, 20 minutes ago. We're back to the beginning now. We're back to the beginning of my talk. And this is that technique is a highly technical term in Hollywood. Does anyone know what that highly technical term in Hollywood is? It's called the ending at the beginning. Highly technical, right? The ending at the beginning is what they call it in Hollywood. I kind of wish that they would, it just seems a little too simple. I wish they would have given it a real good name. But we're going to talk today about that, just that, a center of peace. We're in the midst of the Lent time, and our book, which I forgot to bring up that book again, is our Lenten book is all about releasing and reimagining. Releasing and reimagining. Every day we have a release, and the next day is a reimagining, and it's just a wonderful read as we approach Easter. I'm so grateful for that as well. So that release and reimagine for us here today is going to be releasing stress and reimagining peace. And again, pulling back the curtain on how I create these talks is if I'm feeling it, if I'm knowing it within my world, that's what I talk about. Because I'm feeling stress. And I'm wanting to feel peace. So how is it that I can release the news that talks about war and how it's affecting me in my life and move instead into that center of peace? We're going to talk about this shift, that opportunity to reimagine our reality. Because our reality can be just that. It can be that of peace. I imagine that when that group walked out of that room this morning, and I do know Yvonne walked out and she said, wow. I don't know the exact words, but it was, that feels great. That's where we want to be, is in that center of peace. Today we're focused on that peace that each person here today, each person that's listening to this on Zoom, Alan, how many folks do we have on Zoom? We have about 5 folks on Zoom. Each person on Zoom can participate in that as well. All those folks watching this on YouTube later on in the week or months later, you can reimagine your world that might feel stressful and instead move your life into that center of peace. Taking that step and moving it into not only just peace, but a center of peace, which we're talking about, our world immediately becomes that effect. We fast forward ourselves into that center of peace because it affects not only us, it affects our friends that we're around. It affects our family. It affects the people you're sitting next to. If you're feeling peace, I can guarantee you that the person sitting next to you can feel that as well. And think of the opposite. Haven't you entered a room or haven't you sat down next to somebody and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? You can feel the opposite. You can feel the tense. You can feel the stress. But what we're talking about is spreading that peace wherever we are so that others can find it as well. So our reminder is that I'm not the stress, because we do feel stress, but I am not that stress that I feel from my daily schedule. Now, within the Unity movement, we talk about denials and affirmations. This isn't quite a denial, but it is just reminding us that I am not the stress that I am feeling. But we do want to move into the affirmation that at least I wrote for myself and invites you to share it with me or modify it to make it work in your life. Let me read it once, and then I'm going to ask you to repeat it with me. I am a center of peace in this world. Please repeat that with me. I am a center of peace in the world. In this world, yes. I am a center of peace in this world. So acknowledging the world that we live in and this feeling of stress that pops up, we acknowledge how easy it is to somehow feel influenced by what's going on in the world, because we are interconnected with each other and with the things that are going on out there as well. And sometimes this weight of a busy schedule maybe within our lives, sometimes that is family situations. These are things that pop up in our lives that might load our day and start to begin to feel like stress. We need to remind ourselves that it's okay to feel that. It's not something that we need to be ashamed of. It's not something we need to deny and say, oh no, I never feel this. But it is something that it's okay to feel nervous or frustrated or stressful or even angry at certain times. Things that might feel like they're out of control in our lives. It just might feel that way. But what do we do about that? What do we do about that, and how do we release that from our lives? Well, part of that releasing process is to regain our balance within the world, right? Regain our balance so that we can walk forward throughout our day, feeling that serenity that we want. So some of the practical things that we can do within our day, within our world, is simply notice. When you're starting to feel tense, notice. And how do you feel? How do you notice? Notice how you notice, first of all, because we each do it a different way. Me, if I stop and think about it, what I find is that my shoulders start creeping up around my ears, right? And a couple of other people too. It's just, that's my neck and my shoulders start to get tight, and that's how I know, that's how I notice that this thing is happening in my world. Other people feel differently. It's a gut check. They feel upset a little bit. So the point is, notice how you feel, and then check in with yourself throughout the day so that you don't just stay stressful on autopilot throughout the day. So notice that, and then pause. Once you do, pause. And it can be as simple as a breath. Pause and acknowledge, wow, I'm feeling stressful. Wow, I'm feeling anxious. 2, 3 breaths, that acknowledgement of what's going on within our world. It might even be that you count to 10. Maybe that's your thing to do in this pause. And then also acknowledge what's going on in your life. And this might be you telling yourself that I don't have to stay here. Yes, I'm feeling stressed. Yes, I'm feeling anxious. But I don't have to stay here. And then the last thing that I have here is give yourself some encouraging words. Talk to yourself. We do talk to ourselves, whether we admit it or not, throughout the day. Sometimes it's negative feedback that we're giving ourselves. But be kind to yourself in this situation. Talk to yourself, and maybe it's, wow, you noticed that you feel this way. Nice job navigating the complexities of this world. You see how that's just being soft with yourself. You feel it, you notice it, you pause, and then you talk and you encourage yourself as well. We always have the power to regain our balance in the world. We never want to give up that power that we have. We never want to say, I can't help it and I feel fill in the blank. That's never where we want to be. We want that gentle practice within our lives to be just that. The notice, the pause, the acknowledgement, and the encouragement within our lives. That's what we want within our lives. When I searched for a story for this week, what came about was, I thought about the New Testament. I thought about Jesus and the storm on the Sea of Galilee. Do you remember that story? Yeah, it's a good one. And it's usually told in terms of, here's one of the miracles of Jesus. And it is. But we within the Unity movement know that we're going to treat this metaphysically, and we're going to apply this to our own lives. Right? We're going to look at the things in here and see what is it that applies to our life. How can I make my life better because of this? So Jesus was teaching one day along with his disciples along the side of the Sea of Galilee. And they finish their teaching for the day and head to their boat, and they are going to travel across the Sea of Galilee. All I can figure is that their next gig is on the other side of the sea, right? And they want to prepare for it for the next day. I don't know. Why are they jumping in a boat right after the teaching? I have no idea. But they get into the boat, and halfway across this journey across the sea, it starts to get rough. The seas start to toss. The rain starts to come down. In fact, the waves are breaking over. The Bible says the waves are breaking over the boat. And there are multiple boats. So I imagine that Jesus is in one boat with some disciples. There's other disciples in another boat. They're all moving across this Sea of Galilee. And Jesus is asleep in the stern of this boat. And the disciples are starting to freak out a little bit. They're getting afraid. They're worried. The waves are breaking. We might actually swamp and need to be saved at this point. The disciples were afraid. Jesus was woken up. They begged him for help. And he calms the storm as he says, does anybody remember? Peace, be still. Wow. Peace, be still. I can even imagine how he said it. I can even imagine, because I imagine, pardon me, that he's giving authority to this statement, right? I kind of doubt that it was peace. Ooh, be still. I instead imagine it was peace. Be still. And of course, The storm calms and they're able to move to their next place. But what does that mean metaphysically in our lives? What does it mean in the story that we can take? Because each of the pieces means something to us when we look at this story. And this is one of the great things about the unity movement, is the way that we look at these stories within the Bible. What do you think the sea would signify? What is it within our lives? It is our, and think of the depth of the sea. It might even be our unconscious. It is our mind. It is where we're at. It is the unconscious things that we bring to the situation. Our story, maybe even. Hey, I grew up this way. These things happened to me, and there are things unconscious within that. So yes, the sea, absolutely. The boat is us. It is our physical manifestation. It is the thing that carries us through our day, right? That's the boat, what it is signifying. And the fear is that the boat is going to get swamped, that we're going to be out of control within our lives, that boat is, that boat and that sense of self that we have, that thing that's carrying us through life, is going to get tossed around. That's what we're worried about. The disciples are those folks in this story that are caught up in the external stimuli of the world. They're seeing the storm. They're feeling the waves crash. They're feeling the water. Maybe it's pooling up around their ankles. They're the physical stuff that we're worried about. That's what's going on with the disciples. The storm and the waves themselves, that is the outer turbulent conditions. What is happening in my world that's giving me stress? That's the question I'm asking myself. What are the things that are going on? What is in the news? What conflict is happening in my life? What am I worried about? Maybe I have my kitchen that needs to be redone, and I'm starting to worry about those kind of things that are happening in my life. What? Pardon me? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, when Jesus said, "Peace, be still," he's not talking to the water. He's not talking to the sea. Now, that's kind of different from the old story that we learned. That's an excellent point. He's talking to the situation. He's talking to the people around him. He's becoming that center of peace, which flows over to those 12 disciples. Peace. Be still. What's different traditionally about this story as well is that it's seen as proof that Jesus has control over nature, that he can do miracles, right? When you look at the Gospel of John, it's all about the signs that Jesus is otherworldly. But we're interpreting that differently. He's bringing peace to the situation and the people around him in this story as well. Jesus himself, when we look at it metaphysically, is the teacher, and he's resting in the silence of his own divine being. He never feels the stress. He's already there. He's practiced this before, and he's instructing the disciples on how to do this. It's going to be okay, in other words, is what he's telling them. Take a breath with me. I know you're upset. Thanks for noticing. But we're going to make our way through this as well. He is that center of peace. He is the spiritual authority. He is the peace. He is the clarity of the moment. And here's the hint here. we can be too. This story is not just about Jesus and the disciples. It's not just about looking at something that happened 2,000 years ago. This is our story here today. This is what we can do. We can bring peace and clarity into our world and let it flow to those folks around us as well. So that's Jesus. He is that teacher representing the Christ consciousness that we are as well. He's our teacher. This is the lesson. He was asleep in the back of the boat. I'm not quite sure about this one, but maybe, just maybe, it's illustrating the fact that sometimes we can be asleep throughout the things that are happening in our lives. Maybe we're not aware of certain things. Maybe we're not aware of the seas around us. But that again, our divinity is always with us, even when we feel asleep as well. The fear that the disciples fear and acknowledge and share is a fear of being out of control, don't you think? Without the seas, without the waves, they know how to sail across. They've done it before. They're fishermen. They understand the sea. But feeling out of control is part of where they're at. They're feeling alone. They're feeling fearful at the time, and we do as well from time to time. And then the words themselves: peace, be still, with authority. This is where we claim dominion. This is where we have authority within our lives to think and do and feel what's going on around us in this life. This is where we have dominion over that stress and emotional fear. We claim it, we say it with authority, and then we find that peace. We find peace. So I do want to point out that, as we said earlier, Jesus was not speaking to the sea itself. He was speaking to his own spiritual center and helping the disciples find that peace around them as well. We also have that authority because we are that center of peace. Our affirmation this week: I am a center of peace in this world. I am a center of peace in this world. So what we're doing is we're taking that stress and we're, whatever it is in our lives, the news, the things that are going on, our relationships, whatever it is. And here we are in the middle of Lent, and we know that we can reimagine ourselves in all different circumstances. We are and can become that center of light and peace in our world. We possess that power. And think of this, think of peace not as milk toasty. Think of it as powerful. Peace in your world is the power that you bring to it. Feeling that peace and knowing that it spreads to those around you is the power and the ability, is the resource to transform any situation in your life. Knowing that you can create that peace, doesn't that make you feel good? To know when something pops up, I can handle it. That's the power. That's the power of being a center of peace as well. So here we are reimagining this. We are coming back. And again, if you're watching this on TV, if you're watching this as a movie, this is where we loop back around to the beginning again. We reimagine ourselves as the center of peace. We possess the power and ability, the resources to transform our response to any situation. Back to the story. In a world that constantly pulls at our attention, and I got to admit, the news is pulling at my attention, we are invited back to center. This is your invitation. You're being invited to come back. And if it's my voice, peace, be still, allow that. Or it can be your own as well. We practice releasing and becoming a center of peace. Fade to black. And I love this picture, and I just want us to feel that peace of this situation. I don't know where this is. It could be the Bay in St. Augustine, for all I know. And there's some folks traveling down to Florida soon and doing that. So there it is. St. Augustine and peace. Let's go ahead and move into meditation at this time. I invite you to wiggle around, find your space in your seat. Place your feet uncrossed, your legs uncrossed, feet on the ground, to ground yourself into this positive energy of the earth. Find a place for your hands. Maybe your palms are up, maybe your palms are down. It doesn't matter, whatever feels right for you. Gently closing your eyes. Taking a moment to notice your breath, to notice the inhale and the exhale. You're using this time to focus on one thing. In this case, it's your breath. If you wanted, you could look at the screen and focus on that candle. That could be your one focal point. It doesn't matter. But I suggest watching and feeling and noticing your breath. Closing your eyes allows you to focus only on that thing. We're not controlling the breath. We're not making it longer or shorter. It's just a normal breath. We've already talked about that releasing of anything in our lives that we don't want. We can do that now. And we can gain that expectation in our lives that we're reimagining, we're coming back to that space of peace. We're utilizing that idea to be still. I have that expectation of peace. I am moving towards being that center of peace. This is a spiritual practice. As I know, my reality is spiritual. My reality is based on this quality of peace in my life. I turn within. I release. And I open up my heart and my feeling to that quality of peace. And I might even remember a time in the past where I felt that deeply. I can return to that feeling and feel it once again. That time where I felt that deep peace in my life. I take a breath. I let it go. I drop a little deeper into this time. Peace. Be still. We might even use those 3 words as we move into a minute or 2 of silence as a mantra of sorts. Each breath as you exhale can be peace. Be still. We begin to come out of that silence. Begin to feel again, noticing the sound of my voice. And when you're ready, opening your eyes, coming back into this room. I am a center of peace in this world.
Well, we're moving now into our offertory part of the service. And you can see here there's many ways of giving besides the plate that gets passed around. But we do want to invite you to consider becoming a consistent giver if you are not already. Consistent givers are those who set up automatic payments so that when we build our budget, the board really needs this, because when we build our budget and we know what to expect each month, it really helps us plan out and strategize for the health and vibrancy of this community. That being said, we are grateful for every gift that comes to us in every way. So if you would, take your hands, hold that gift in your hand, or if you give online or in any other way, imagine that in your hands as we say together the abundance blessing. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. We are light, love, power, and presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.